We get started with a special guest who's joining us in studio this morning. Last year, he led the Blackhawks with 34 goals, 12 power play goals, also tops on the team, 7th in the league, the pride and joy of Thunder Bay, Ontario.
Seabrook to Kane. His feed finds Sharp. Patrick Sharp trying to get to the goal. He does. Has scored! Patrick Sharp! A little stop and go move. Exploded to the net. That's 8 goals in 7 games for Sharpie. And the Hawks have some breathing room.
And Patrick Sharp will be in the lineup Friday night when the Hawks lift the lid on the 2011-2012 season in Dallas. Thanks for stopping by, man. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
We'd like to have all of you guys because your team is real nice to us. Anytime one of you guys stop by the studio, we get free breakfast. I mean, we got a nice movie. Yesterday, Crow was in here, Corey Crawford with the morning show. You're stopping by today. We got free food.
Yeah, they seem to know how to do their job, the Blackhawks. They seem to be familiar with the concept.
They do things the right way. I'm enjoying it myself. I got a nice coffee on the way in. It's they treat us well.
And Sharpie's sporting his Bears cap today. So you might have heard some of the discussion there. We really need you guys to get going and get started well. I don't know how much you follow local baseball, but it was a dreadful summer here, and nobody's believing in the Bears right now at 500. So we need you to give this city a boost.
I'm aware. I'm a big baseball fan, and I kept an eye on what was going on with the Cubs and the Sox. There'll be better days ahead, but good news is the Hawks are starting up on Friday, so we can start talking some hockey.
A lot of reason to be excited about this roster, just with all the guys on, I guess you'd call it the bottom third of the roster, and now added in. How you feeling about the mix as you've gotten a chance to skate with these guys?
I like it a lot, and I think Stan Bowman and everyone in the front office did a great job of kind of tweaking the lineup and addressing some of our strengths and weaknesses. We got a lot of veteran leadership in the locker room now. We got a young captain still. It's a lot of ask for him to carry the load leadership-wise. So you got guys like Sean O'Donnell, who's turning 40 next month, Jamal Mayers, Steve Montador, a bunch of guys that have been around and had success in the playoffs. I think it only helps our team, and we can't wait to get going on Friday.
Let's talk about you. You have the emergency appendectomy on September 12th. You don't play in any of the preseason games, but you're good to go on Friday night. How you feeling?
That's just a veteran move, isn't it? Get out of training camp, get some surgery, and
That's
be ready to go for opening night.
Good job. Good job on that.
A little concerned about not playing a game, but I've played close to 500 games in the league, so I'm sure it'll come back quick. I'm playing online with Jonathan Taves, so things will be okay on Friday night, but feeling good. I'm thankful we have such good trainers and doctors on the Hawks, and they took care of me right away.
For those who've never had the pleasure of having an appendicitis attack, take them through what you went through. I had this done like 30 years ago, too. Tell us about where were you when you started having the symptoms and what happened?
I actually was very, very lucky. I woke up Saturday morning and had some slight discomfort, some pain. I thought maybe I strained something in my abdominal area. My wife's a nurse, so she knew it was the appendix right away, but didn't have any fevers or sweats or intense pain like most people seem to get. Our trainers jumped on it right away, and next thing I knew I was in surgery. So I was told the next 24 to 48 hours it was going to get pretty bad, but I got lucky and dodged that bullet.
Yes, with apologies to the ladies in the audience and to Jay Zawoski, our producer. He said wife. There was wife in there. Patrick is married. Some of the women in the office, Mac, lining up. Have you seen them being?
I've seen the guys lining up, too.
But a lot of people a little closer to the studio. They really don't care about us, Patrick. They don't listen. They're not fans of the show or radio in general, but you're here and they seem to be intrigued.
Nah, I don't buy that.
Did the appendix, did it actually rupture? Did the poison start spilling through your body?
No, I think they said the next day or two it was going to possibly burst. So they got it in time. I know that if it does rupture, you can be in serious trouble. So like I said, I got lucky and we're moving past it. I'm ready to go.
You mentioned when you were talking about the roster that Johnny Taves has had a lot on his shoulders as a leader, as a young captain. And not to slight him in any way, but what's some of this stuff that he can get some help with? Now, what's some of the stuff that a leader has to do on this team?
Well, I think I can't put myself in Johnny's shoes, but I know when you're named captain, youngest in the National Hockey League, you got older players in the team. Sometimes that might be a tough transition. And every season I've seen Johnny take steps in the leadership department. Last year, he was more vocal than I've ever seen him. Of course, you guys know how he plays the game and conducts himself off the ice, so that's a no-brainer. But we've had a young team for years, and now it seems like we've added some of the veteran presence, guys that have played a lot of NHL games. And, only going to help in that department. So.
Patrick Sharp is with us in the studio for a few more minutes before he gets over to practice. Hawks in Dallas on Friday night to open the season, then back at the United Center on Saturday evening. You know, having had now, Patrick, a year to let it digest, when you go back to what you guys did last summer after winning the Stanley Cup and starting the year sluggishly as you did, not so much you personally, you had a pretty productive season last year, but not all of the guys who were part of that Cup run did. You guys started as a group pretty slow. Do you think there were guys who were hungover from the championship? Guys who just sort of thought they were entitled to put on the skates, the helmets and shoulder pads and go out there and recreate? Was that a part of why this club struggled so much last year early?
Well, I hope they weren't hungover. We had about 2 or 3 months off. That's
not every night hungover, although that was rumored to be a part of it too. In some cases, we know that to be true. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you.
The hangover of a championship, falling in love with everything you'd accomplished and maybe taking some things for granted.
Sure. I don't think anyone took anything for granted. We understood the process of winning a championship and just how much hard work it took. Coming back into last season, it's like we never really closed the door on the championship season, and we had a tough start. That's a huge part of the season, the first couple of months. That's why we're so excited about this year, and it can really set up your season. 82 games, you get off to a good start, you're laughing the rest of the way. So that's a focus of ours this year, and we plan on getting off to a good one.
Sometimes it's even more subtle than that. I've heard people talk about coming off a championship season that they're so confident they feel like they can just flip the switch, and it's sort of subtle, but you find yourself, wait a minute, we're 10, 15 games into this thing and we're not playing as well as I assumed we would.
I don't think it's a matter of, like I said earlier, taking anything for granted or just flipping a switch. I mean, you also got to remember, as a champion, defending Cup champ, every team's out to get you. And whether you beat them the year before or they want to test themselves as a team, every game you're getting the opposition's best. So whatever happened last year is in the past. We're moving on, and we're ready to go get that cup again this year.
You guys took us on a ride during that Vancouver series. Oh my God! Epitaphs were written. People literally wrote their season-ending columns, and then 4 or 5 days later, there you are with a chance. That must have been insane for you guys as well.
It was a fun series. I don't think it changed the feeling. Losing in overtime of Game 7. The fact that we could climb back into the series, but I'm proud of the way the guys stepped up. It's easy to go into that fourth game down 3-0 and say, well, here the season's over, let's pack it in, and we did anything but that. So that just goes to show you again the importance of a good start. I know that's a 7-game series. It's not 82 games, but we didn't really show up until Game 4, and we had a big hole to climb out of.
I was telling Sharpie before we got started how much grief I took up in Northwest Ontario, not too far from where he grew up. I think about 5 hours by car, because that's how you measure it when you're in Canada, Spiegel. You don't do kilometers or miles. You measure it by hours in the car, right? Isn't that how it works?
Exactly. I'm surprised you were taking some heat, too. I thought they'd be cheering for the hometown boy.
Well, you know what? It was weird that I thought that they would have been upset that Boston won the championship, because I thought there would be some nationalism. I thought there would be, from the locals up there. I thought, I would it's been a while since Canada's had a team in that country win the Stanley Cup, but they hate Vancouver there too. Yeah. They can't stand them.
Well, everybody does, really, except Vancouverites. I mean, that's an easy team to hate, isn't it?
You're not going to get any complaints out of a Blackhawk over here, that's for sure.
How's Shooter? I want to know how the dog's doing.
Shooter's good. He's hanging in there. He's excited to start the season. He likes to listen to games on the TV when the wife and I are out of the house, and he can't wait to get going either.
Do you leave him on the TV? Do you leave the games on for Shooter?
He's on the couch, and we put some fresh water and some food out for him, some snacks, and he enjoys watching the games.
That's living. That's living. Snacks out for the dog.
This hour of the show is being sponsored by Northwestern Football, Chicago's Big Ten team. Northwestern has Michigan in the ballpark on Saturday at 6 o'clock. Get your tickets by calling 888-GO-PURPLE. If you want to jump in, do it fast, because we got to spring Sharpie in a few minutes, but we would like to take a couple of phone calls. 312-644-6767 is our telephone number. Quick thought on your new line mate, Brandon Saad, on Friday night. The 18-year-old gets the benefit of an injury and a suspension to Carcillo, who's going to miss the first couple games, so he'll skate on the first line with you and Johnny Taves on Friday.
Yeah, very impressive training camp for Brandon, and it just goes to show you how hard work can pay off. I think you look at the roster in late August, early September, a lot of people would think there's no chance for an 18-year-old to come crack the lineup, but he's impressed a lot of people, and he's a good kid on and off the ice, so we're excited to have him. I just remember when I was 18, I was a freshman at the University of Vermont, so he's come a long way. These 18-year-olds have come a long way.
How about you playing center or forward? Have you been told hard and fast this is what you're going to do, or are you just ready to move around if need be?
I'm ready to move around. I think I've been told Friday I'm playing the wing, but you guys have watched enough Hawks games to know that Joel's got a great feel for the lineup and who's going and who's not. He likes to jumble lines around, and I bounce around from left, right to center. So I'm prepared for anything, and then we'll see what happens.
Can Kaner play center? You think long term is he big enough? Is he
looked good against the Red Wings last week?
Yeah, I don't have any doubts. I mean, he's a good player. When he was 18,
Matt's been making the Savard comparisons since it happened.
That's
right?
fair. I think when Kaner was 18, I had doubts he'd play in the National Hockey League. He was so small and really didn't have a great training camp, and you know how that turned out. So I wouldn't bet against 88.
The bio the Hawks website has about you sort of implies that you split college after 2 years because your team sucked. Is that accurate? Philly drafted you? Was it just you weren't comfortable there? You spent 2 years there. It's a long way from home. Why just 2 years?
I loved my time in Vermont. I was there for 2 years. The second year we played 34 games. Started the season 3-3 and finished 3-31. So it was a tough season, but the Flyers gave me an opportunity to play pro hockey, and I jumped at it.
All right, let's go to John on the south side. John, good morning. You're on the score with Blackhawks forward Patrick Sharp. What's on your mind?
Hi, guys. How you doing today?
Good.
It was exciting last year, the playoff round. Patrick, I just wanted your thoughts on that shot you took there in overtime in Game 7.
I knew that'd be coming.
With the series on your stick, he wants to know how that went down.
I've answered a few of these questions, and
I bet.
I really haven't thought twice about it, to be honest with you. The pass came over. Defenseman kind of delayed the pass from coming over, so Luongo had a good jump on the play, and I did the same thing I've done all season in that situation, shoot it as high and as hard as I can. And as it was leaving my stick, I knew it was going to clip his shoulder. So it would have been nice to go in, but I didn't have any sleepless nights, that's for sure.
Got to have that short memory, right?
That's right.
You can't think about that stuff.
I want to ask you a question from the perspective of a pond hockey player. And there are other guys out there who might be able to relate to this. There's two things that you do and several of your teammates do very, very well that I don't quite understand. It looks very difficult. You play the left point as a right-handed shot on the power play. That seems like it would be a very difficult thing to do, not so much as a shooter, but as a passer, because you don't have your forehand to use most of the ice.
Yeah, it is tough, and I don't want to give any secrets away here, but it is tough to come back to that defensive partner to come cross ice with the pass because you're kind of on your backhand. But for me, I like to think I'm a shooter. I mean, my dog's name is Shooter. So when that puck comes over, I'm trying to get it off my stick onto the net as hard as I can.
And the other thing is the redirect. It's amazing. People say that hitting major league pitching might be the most difficult thing to do in sports, and I'm not going to dispute that. It certainly is. But redirecting a puck that's shot as hard as those guys do, I mean, how much of that is luck? I know you work on it. I know you practice it, but there's a little bit of luck involved too, isn't there?
Probably about as much as there is hitting a line drive or a home run. I mean, you're standing in front of the net. You got a guy shooting the puck probably around the same speed. You got another 6'3" defenseman pushing you around. You got to find a way to get a stick on it. So the guys that do that job are pretty skilled at it.
So now with all these tough guys added in, are you going to feel tougher? Like, does that translate from one person to the other? So you might take a shot at somebody knowing that there's more people to have your back than last year.
Well, I've been lifting weights. Don't I look a little bit tougher?
It didn't come to mind right away. No offense to you. But you've been working out? I have to ask.
Yeah, that's the obligatory question.
It's my hook, yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. We have some tough guys in the lineup. It creates space for players like myself, like Jonathan, Patrick, Marion. It makes our job a whole lot easier. So I'm not going to think twice about giving someone a nice stick to the stomach or a slash behind the legs because I know I got the big boys behind me.
So there you go. Creates space.
Has Q been a hard ass this training camp? We talked to him about a week before it started, and
did he sound like he was gonna?
It kind of sounded to me like, yeah, we're going to find out who's who right out of the chute here. We're going to have a more physical camp, and we're going to play our guys a little bit more, which we've seen a little bit of lately, but not for the long haul.
You're asking the wrong guy. I've been sitting on my couch with my legs crossed, watching Bears football, recovering from surgery, but no, Q is he's a great coach. He's one of the tops in the league. His record speaks for itself, and he's definitely energized and ready to rock this season. He came in, and it was an intense camp. I sat there and watched all the practices and the inter-squad games, and And he's cracking the whip, and he's ready to go as well.
Hey, Patrick, we have a steady flow of input from texters to the show.
Okay.
There's one guy saying, people who don't know me have legitimately questioned my sexuality because of my outspoken attraction to Patrick Sharp. There's one. Another guy says, tell Sharpie that caller was an asshat. Luongo made a nice play in overtime. So you've got defenders out there, too.
Let's address the first one on guys being attracted to our in-studio guest here.
How do you want to address that, Dan?
Is it a burden being Patrick Sharp sometimes?
I just assume that they're attracted to the way I play the game of hockey.
That's a good way to think about it. That's a good way.
Well, thanks for coming by. We're glad you're feeling better. Have a great start to the year, and we'll see you real soon.
I will. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
You bet. Thanks. Patrick Sharp had a career best 71 points last year, 34 goals on the season. That was tops on the squad, 12 power play tallies.